Good morning. Really early this morning, so it's like God, half past. Well, it was. Look, I've been up since 3:30, so I woke up and that was it. I could not get back to sleep. That was it. So wide awake, turned on the TV, watched Sky News. Got my usual from Trump, my usual madness in the morning, and. Yeah, that was it really. And I sort of left the house at 6:20, and yeah, I'm here. I'm at work. So what sort of week have I had? Well, it's been a painful week this week. Now, I've been getting knee pain for quite a long time, and I put it down to old age and arthritis and all the rest of it. Whether or not it is, I really don't know. But I had a theory. I mean, I've always thought that I had flat feet. So I thought, that's the problem. Now, on last Sunday, I went to get some shoes for work because the ones I have were just painful. They really were. They were the right size. They were, good shoes. Cost me a lot of money. But I went into this place it's called Athlete's Foot in the centre, and they had a machine to measure. Now, I haven't had my feet measured since I was a child, and they measured my feet and they discovered that one foot was bigger than the other, and they told me how wide the foot was. Then the gentleman in question asked me to walk, so he asked me to. They were trying to sort of gauge my gait, the way I walked, etc. So I did that, and I explained that I thought I probably had flat feet and all the rest of it. And he said to me, "No," he said, "you haven't." He said, "You haven't got flat feet." He said, "You've got high arches," which is completely the opposite. Now, I have always had issues with walking, but my father has as well, and I can't remember what he had. I think he's got one leg bigger than the other. He used to have a nickname actually, and I can't remember that either. But he used to, I think he still does. He certainly does walk with a limp, and he might possibly have high arches as well, because with me, it's something I've always had since I was a child. I was born that way. They are quite rare actually. They're not as regular as flat feet. So anyway, over the years, it's caused a lot of problems. Now, I got a lot of pain. So I get pain in the heel of my foot. I get it in my toes. And I've started to get it in my shins and my knee and all the rest of it. So the guy at Athlete's Foot said to me, he said, right, I can recommend, he gave me a choice there were 3 shoes, and it gives a lot of support. So it gives a lot of arch support, and it gives a lot of comfort, which I need now. So I've got the shoes on. They're called Hoka. Now, apparently they're used by a lot of doctors, nurses, people on their feet all day. So far they're okay, but they are taking a lot of getting used to, because obviously all my life I walked in a certain way. And if you ask Daryl about that, he will say, because if he's behind me, he will see that my feet, I think, tend to roll out to the right. So they roll outwards rather than the way they should. So I end up walking on the side of my foot, and it's because I don't have the actual padding, I suppose, for the rest of my feet. So yeah, it's been a real problem forever. What am I now? 50 odd years old, and I guess now as I've got to that age, it's now become a real issue. So I've got these shoes and I've got to try them out. And in true form, I've Googled high arches and I didn't like what I've come up with. And it's doom scrolling again. And it's basically, It tells you worst case scenarios, and from anything from motor neurone disease, all the rest of it. And yeah, my anxiety just goes mad. But I have always had this problem, so it's not something new for me. But it is causing issues. So lots of ice, followed by heat, ibuprofen, anything to bring down the inflammation. And yeah, there could be. It's like he said, there could be. Well, there probably is arthritis in my knee as well, and other places. And certainly, people with heart issues do tend to get arthritis in the foot, especially I was told on the top, where you tend to get bone spurs and stuff. So, the shoes I've got now are extra wide. They're not the most beautiful shoes in the world, it has to say, but hopefully, as my feet become more used to them, it should sort of help to, not correct, but it will help to, cushion the issue going forward. Who knows? I just don't know. Hopefully it will. Apart from that, that's it. This is normal life down under, really. It's a bit colder this week, so it's been quite nice to sleep, and that's unusual. It's supposed to be really, really hot at the moment, but it's not. It's only sort of 20s, 30s, and yeah, it should be a lot hotter than that at this time. But that's the way it is. Still planning the holiday, so we're still getting to grips with that, and I've got to work out some more hotels later. We're still trying to work out a hotel in Singapore. It's really, really difficult trying to find hotels there, good hotels, because it's such a small place, and there's not a huge amount to pick from. So I've got to, I'm sort of working on that, really, sort of work in progress. It's going to cost a lot of money there, we're only there for 4 days, but it's probably going to cost $2,500 for that. So just for that in a hotel. And on top of that, you've got the expense of being in Singapore. If anybody knows anything about Singapore, where to eat, where to go, where to stay, what to do, please let me know in the comments below, because I need some ideas. I've never been there. I know Daryl's been there, but he was there very briefly. Now I've been told it's better to eat at places like hawker centres. Don't know where they are. Anyone can point me in the right direction. That would be wonderful. And obviously there's things to see. It's really a big modern metropolis. So there's going to be some culture and history, I'm sure. Once again, I don't know. There is Chinatown. It's an old colonial place, so there's going to be that type of stuff about. It's rather like when we went to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. This is what I love. New York is very similar, but you've got these modern great skyscrapers, and then you've got these tiny little colonial buildings sat in between these massive skyscrapers, and it looks very bizarre. It actually happens in Perth as well. So there is a couple of these places where you've got the big modern skyscrapers, and you've got these tiny little buildings, churches in between, which it's kind of weird. Coming from Britain, you don't find that so much. And I think the trouble with the UK, we just sort of knocked everything down and rebuilt in the 60s, 70s and 80s, really. And we lost a lot of history that way. But because there's so little tangible history in places like Perth and Singapore, that they tend to keep it, and we should have probably done that more in the UK, to be honest with you. As I say, this morning I've been watching Mr. Trump on TV with the British PM Keir Starmer, which was quite funny. Donald Trump just, if he wasn't such a, I'm going to say dangerous person. He feels like a dangerous person to me, but he does give me a good laugh, and the things he says, the lies he tells, and he must know he's lying. He must. And I think there's this thing with him where he knows he's telling untruth, and he just sort of smiles wryly, and he knows. But it's all part of who he is, and it's part of his makeup and psyche, really. So, yeah. But it was quite funny to watch. It is more like a comedy. Biden was a bit of a nightmare in another way. He was just probably he was a terrible president, one of the worst I think I've ever known. And at least with Donald Trump, you do get a God, what do you get? You get a good show with him. He worries me incessantly. America worries me incessantly now, and what's going to come of the world. I was talking to one of the people who I served in the shop a couple of days ago, and they said to me, they come from South America, they're Glaswegian, Australia, and they said to me, you're in the safest place for now. And that's the thing. I feel like I'm in a safe place, but for how long, I don't know. Because none of us know how the world's heading at this moment in time. So, and my anxiety is not good at the best of times, let alone at times like this. It's dreadful, really. Spoke to my father, was it last week? The week before. Dad's fine. He's doing his thing, really. He's a bit like me. I like talking to my dad because we discuss our health problems. So that's good, because it gives him someone to talk to, and it gives me someone to talk to as well. And it's just really like two old men discussing our various ailments. And I need that from time to time, even from my father. And I'm quite open with my father about my ailments, and some of them are a bit like, oh, you talk to your father about that? But yeah, why not? Absolutely. And Dad's the same. Dad actually has become a lot more receptive to that kind of thing, and he's a lot more open now, and it's quite a nice thing to say. He used to be a typical dad and very stoical, and he wouldn't talk about various things, but now, as he's got older, he's very he's very receptive to that, and I like that. It's a good thing. And that I only really hear from my dad. I sort of sent a couple of messages last week, but I'm so busy, and literally like yesterday when I get in from work, I had something to eat, and I was sound out on the sofa. I was asleep, literally. And I think as I've got older, I just fall asleep at the drop of a hat. It's probably because I keep getting up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, which is bloody ridiculous. But what am I going to do? I'm an old man now. There you go. Oh, I've got rid of this. So I've got my tash and your little goatee beard going on again. But I think that looks better. It's less ragged, and it's more Shakespeare. It just makes, I think it's more I don't know, dignified. Somebody said a lot of Rolf Harris the other day, which was not good. So yeah, I hope. No, I don't. I haven't got that mad hair he had. Don't want to talk about him anyway. So, but yeah. So anyway, that's it from me. Short, sweet. Have a wonderful week. And I'll talk to you probably next Saturday. Ciao for now.